People who have actually had sex with a step relative. What was the aftermath? My sister gave our stepbrother a blowjob on one end of our wraparound couch, with our grandmother asleep on the other end. Spoiler alert, she woke up. We had some fucked up family dynamics. What happened when she woke up? My grandmom woke up mid-job, smacked my sister on the back of the head with her slipper. They sprung apart and ran away without saying a word. And the next morning everyone just acted like nothing ever happened. As far as I know, my grandmother never said a word about it to anyone. Where was I? I was in bed, sneakily reading Aragon and none the wiser, until my sister told me the next morning. I think these two instances perfectly encapsulate who we both were as a person. Lol. Not me, but my coworker got his nephew a job with our company to help straighten him out and let him live with him. A few months later he starts talking about how he's going to be a granddad cause his 18-year-old daughter who lives at home is pregnant. We later found out his nephew was banging his daughter on the regular and was the father of his grandbaby. Nephew got fired for failing a drug test not even 6 months into the gig. Pretty sure he ended up getting kicked out of their house shortly thereafter. Alright, here we go. So, I meet girl, meet her mom and dad. The girl and I have sex and date for several months. She gets pregnant. I join the Navy to support my new family. I leave for boot camp and she starts sleeping around. So we break up. During this time her mom goes crazy. Her dad leaves her mom. He then starts seeing my mom. They get married. Boom. My ex is now my stepsister and my son is now my nephew. Welcome to West Virginia, y'all. My parents used to be step siblings. My mom was 6. Dad was 12 when my mom's mom married my dad's dad. My dad lived with his mom primarily though, and they never spent much time together. I think my grandparents were married for 6 or 10 years or something like that before they divorced. When my mom was about 20, Dad was 26 and he asked her out. They've been married for like 35 years. The complicated bit is that I have an aunt that was born from the marriage of my maternal grandmother and paternal grandfather. So my parents share a half-sibling, but they're no longer step-siblings. Edit. Rephrase the sentence for clarity. Also, guys, there are plenty of other southern hillbilly states aside from Alabama, unless I'm missing a reference to something. That being said, every generation beneath my great-grandparents on both sides has been born and raised in Ka. Although funnily enough, my aunt did move to a southern state when she got married. I like to joke that she complicates the family tree so they kicked her out. We were on a family holiday in Spain and the apartment was quite small so a few of us slept in the living room. I was almost asleep when I heard my older brother get a hand job from my stepsister. I had forgotten about the sounds until now, so thanks bro. I don't think they had sex, maybe without me knowing, but I don't think there was any aftermath besides extreme awkwardness on my part for the rest of the holiday and a significant time afterwards. Now I think about it, they were both ill for a few evenings that holiday, so now I realize that was bullshit, and it was Bang City. To further expand as it may not be clear, my dad and stepmom would take us out for dinner every night, so both of them being ill meant they were in the apartment alone. I don't know if they knew I was awake, hope not, but now I can't stop thinking about the unbuckling of the belt and the unzipping noises and then fap, etc. Brother was 16. Step-sister 15 and I was 13. I'm now 31, and I hadn't thought about this in at least 10 years. My mother passed away, so my brother and I moved in with my father, stepmother and stepsister. My parents had a brutal divorce, so we were not very close to them. In fact, we didn't see my father for years. Fast forward, my brother, stepsister, stepbrother and I would play lights out as teenagers. Basically, turn the lights out and start beating the shit out of each other with pillows or anything we could find. I know it sounds like a sick game. Later, when we all played and wondered why I was not getting my hair pulled or punched, I turned on the lights and found my brother and stepsister making out. We stopped playing lights out, but my brother and sister were secretly seeing each until my stepmother found out. A guy I knew, while we were both early teens, had a huge crush on a girl who was a close friend of his family. His parents were church friends with her parents. Then, her parents both died in a car accident, and his parents had agreed to adopt her if such an incident were ever to occur. His mom was kinda weird and made him start calling her sister, and none of his family knew he was head over heels in love with this girl, or if they suspected a crush they pretended not to. What they for sure didn't know, because his parents would have disowned him, was that by high school, they were secretly banging almost every night. I lost touch with them during high school, and I want to know what ended up happening with them so badly it drives me crazy to think about. Edit. To the million people asking me to track them down now. I tried years ago, but literally the only thing I have to go off of is his name. We only hung out for a few years. And it was because my mom and his mom were work friends who hung out outside of work a lot during that time. I don't know what school he went to or what church they went to. I don't remember his school friends' names. I'm only about 70 sure I'm even remembering the girl's name correctly. The only avenue I could think of exploring is asking my mom what her former coworker's name is or if she remembers where they moved to. But that's a really weird question to bring up 15 years later, so I don't really plan on going that route. I just gave his name another search, but it's a fairly common name, and without more to go off of, it's sort of impossible to find a match on social media. Sorry to disappoint. My uncle married his stepsister when they were teenagers. They had 4 kids together and divorced. Years later, my dad married her. She was his stepsister and younger brother's ex-wife. My cousins became my step-siblings. Uncle lived around the corner. Her kids did not like being told what to do by their uncle. My dad always felt like she treated me and my sister poorly. My grandma threatened to disown my dad several times for marrying her. They were together for about a year before stepmom couldn't handle dad's drinking anymore, and he said he was sick of her kids disrespecting him and her not treating my sister and me good enough. We moved out, but they stayed married for over 10 years. Cousin step-siblings weren't as close with us after that, and my sister and I were kinda considered black sheep of the family. Too bad. I liked being around my cousins so much, and I thought my aunt stepmom was cool. I was like 10 or 11 at the time though. I can't imagine what those two were thinking when they got together in the first place. Whole thing was confusing to say the least. Let's just slip right to relatives. Caught my cousins kissing. I quietly snuck out to let them do whatever horrors they intended. Never mentioned it, not once. While apart from the odd slight remark every now and again, it was just a quick fling, I believe. Edit. They weren't siblings, they were also cousins to each other. I think they were around age 18, give or take a couple years. Didn't happen in the us, as some people have tried to guess for various reasons and experiences. Not my story, but my partner's ex-friend fucked his aunt. They aren't related, biologically related, but the aunt knew the guy since he was baby. Plus, the uncle and him were close, and he worked with his uncle. Basically, the aunt was going through a breakup with his uncle. The ex-friend and aunt got drunk, fucked and capped as a thing. They only stopped when the uncle got his act together and wanted her back, and told him everything, but pretty sure not the consistency of how many times. When the uncle found out, he called work saying he was going to kill his nephew if not beat the living shit out of him. The co-workers told the ex-friend, and he skipped town. Obviously, they no longer have a relationship with the aunt or uncle. Share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to the channel. Good luck.